Hello everyone, welcome back to another DST video. Today, I had an interesting idea that I thought of. I wanted to make a tier list of all of the starting benefits for each class. Now, basically the concept behind this is that some classes will be better as your starting class than others depending on the build. Of course, martial classes usually have starting benefits that benefit them with higher health points, like higher hit points per level, and better armor and weapon proficiencies rather than casters. But casters have lower hit dice and things like a +2 caster and such like that might come up, allowing them to be better at casters. And so generally, the class that's your main class, the starting benefits are the reason you're taking it as your main class. Because of course, with my system and multi-classing and subclassing, all the classes kind of can work really well as just pickups if you only want a few of their features. But the starting benefits only get picked once. You only ever get to decide what your spellcasting stat is a single time. And you only get to decide what the size of your hit dice is a single time. So we're going to be going through every single class. I have little images I've made here. I took them from the internet. Like I just looked at Google Images for weird symbols and then color coded them. So I'm not going to be using these as official. I'm not officially calling these the symbols for each class because technically they're not mine. I didn't make them. So these aren't official. These are just ways for me to explain them. But anyway, we're going to go through each class and just rank them based off of not only their hit dice size, but also their spellcasting stat and what the starting benefits are for each class. Starting with the Alchemist. The Alchemist has a D4 sized hit dice, and intelligence is their spellcasting stat. Their starting benefits are proficiency in light armor, thrown potions, clubs, darts, quarterstaffs, alchemist supplies, brewer's tools, and you get to choose one set of tools other than those. And then you'll get constitution and dexterity saving throws, and you'll get to choose 3 from arcana, perception, history, insight, investigation, nature, sleight of hand, stealth, and religion. And then notably, you'll get an extra 1 hit point per node in alchemist, which is pretty nice. So now, notably, for the rest of the time, I'm only going to be bringing up the saving throw proficiencies, how many tools proficiencies you get, what weapon and armor type proficiencies you get, and how many skill proficiencies you get. I'm not going to read through every single skill proficiency, and the reason for that is because generally speaking, between your background, your race selection, and feats, you can pick up any skill proficiency you want. So the fact that alchemists have 3 is better than the average 2, which most characters will be getting from their class. Dexterity and constitution saving throws are 2 of the best saving throws to be picking up. And an extra hit point per alchemist node will cause you to not feel that D4 hit dice as badly if you're playing a full class alchemist. And if alchemist is your main class, you're almost definitely going to want to take this as your starting benefits, because proficiency in thrown potions means that your chemical bombs ability will be using your proficiency bonus rather than just throwing it and hoping your dexterity will make it work. So I'm going to give, by the way, I'm not going to be basing this off of any specific build type. I'm not going to be talking about, oh, the fighter's better for casters, or, oh, the druid is not very good for martial characters. I'm just, in general, for a general character, how good are the features? And I think that the Alchemist does a really good job of not only incentivizing you to play an Alchemist with its starting benefits, but I also think that it's pretty well-rounded in its ability. So I'm going to give it an A tier. I think that it's balanced, and that's going to be the overall basis for these classes. Next up, we've got the Archivist, another D4 hit dice character with intelligence as its spellcasting stat. And notably, its starting benefits give you daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbow proficiency, no armor proficiency. You'll get to choose 1 set of tools, intelligence and constitution saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 skills. Notably, you also get 2 extra known spells and an extra technical node in Archivist. Now, the technical node in Archivist is really what carries the Archivist as a useful starting class, but in general, I don't think that these are the best features for a overarching class. I think that this really does tell you if you want to play an Archivist and you really want to dig into that Archivist playstyle of having a bunch of nodes so that you can cast all your spells constantly throughout the day, it's good, but I don't think it's as useful as the Alchemist's ones. Next up, we've got the Artificer. Now, the Artificer is a D8 hit dice character with Intelligence as its spellcasting stat. You'll note throughout this video that most characters use Intelligence as their spellcasting stat. I have made that be the like generally most common spellcasting stat available to all classes, mostly because martial characters use Intelligence as their spellcasting stat, but of course there's a lot of casters that also do it, such as the first three we're already talking about: the Alchemist, the Archivist, and the Artificer. Artificer's starting benefits will give you proficiency in light armor, which is not bad. You'll get simple weapon proficiency, and you'll get 3 sets of tools of your choice: Intelligence and Constitution saving throw. Again, Constitution saving throws are some of the most important, so I'm going to be ranking those higher than others, and Dexterity along with those are the second best, I would say, probably. Wisdom is probably third, and after that I would probably say it's a toss-up between the remaining 3. They all have different reasons for being useful saving throws. And you get 2 skills. I'm going to drop Artificer in a solid B. It's pretty good. The Constitution saving throws helps them a lot, and 3 sets of tools can come in handy, especially if you're using my tool rules, where tools are way better than they are in the typical game. Notably, you also get an ability score improvement that's locked into the end of the starting benefits of an Artificer, which is nice. An ability score improvement will probably give most classes a little bit of a boost. I would say Artificer, the ability score improvement does not push it into A tier, but it definitely means it's a higher B than some. Next, we've got Barbarian. Now, Barbarian is a hard one to rank because it's a D12 hit dice character that has Constitution as its spellcasting stat, which means that if you are playing a Barbarian as a spellcaster, not only do you get to use Constitution, but you also have a D12 hit dice for short rests, and every time you split level with Barbarian so that you are taking a node in Barbarian and a node in the spellcaster of your choice. This is really useful for having high hit points, but are high hit points good enough to give you a high tier? Well, let's talk about the other things you get. You also get proficiency in simple and martial weapons. You get shields and light and medium armor. You'll also get strength and Constitution saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 skills. That's it. That's all the Barbarian does get, but I do think this is enough to put it into S tier. I think the Barbarian is a really good starting benefits character. For a caster that wants to go just have a bunch of health, picking up even a few split level nodes with Barbarian to grab, I don't know, unarmored defense or thick skin or something like that can be really nice, but it isn't necessarily the best unless you prepare for it. So I do think there are downsides, and I do not think it's the best starting benefit character, but I do think Barbarian is really high up there because Constitution as a spellcasting stat is that strong. Next, we've got Bard, a D8 hit dice character with Charisma as your spellcasting stat. With your starting benefits, you'll get proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, rapiers, short swords, 3 tools of your choice, Charisma and Dexterity saving throws, and you'll also get any 4 skill proficiencies and a +1 caster. I've got to also drop Bard in S tier. It is really good, and the reasons why it's so good is because not only do you get 4 skill proficiencies, which right off the bat are going to make you really good at skills, but the +1 caster is a great benefit, and 3 tools is a great benefit. D8 hit dice is pretty average health-wise, and you're not going to be having a huge Constitution score for your Constitution casting spells like Barbarian grants you, but Charisma is another extremely powerful skill to have a high score in. So I actually think the Bard is better than the Barbarian when it comes to its starting benefits. Next up, we're talking about the Chieftain, another D12 hit dice character, but Wisdom is their spell stat instead of Constitution like the Barbarians. Now they get proficiency in simple and martial weapons, all armor, one set of tools, Wisdom and Dexterity saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 skills, as well as getting an ability score improvement. I'm going to lock this in place above the Artificer, but on the same level. Actually, I think it's under the Artificer. They're very similar. I think that they have different benefits. Of course, the Artificer being more skill-based in some of their things, like having those extra tool proficiencies, but I don't think the Chieftain has any, like super bad parts of it. It's just overall pretty good. And a D12 hit dice is just fun to have, honestly. Next, we've got the Cleric. Now, the Cleric is a D8 hit dice character with Wisdom as their spellcasting stat, where proficiency in simple weapons, you'll get to choose 1 set of tools, light and medium armor. You can notably get heavy armor proficiency on the Cleric very quickly because of their skill list, but we're just talking about the starting benefits, so it's only light and medium. Shield and Charisma and Wisdom saving throws, which again, I think Wisdom is really important, but Charisma is kind of eh. And you'll get to choose 2 skills, and then you'll get 1 extra level of Caster and 1 extra use of Channel Divinity. Now, for a Cleric, that extra Channel Divinity use is really, really good, but for most classes, the Channel Divinity use is going to be pointless. Now, this is important. Most classes that have starting benefits that are bonuses other than the other stuff they normally get are usually going to be like pointed toward the class they're using. Think the Alchemist's ability to use proficiency for thrown potions, and the Archivist's extra technical load in Archivist. These are things that only help them for that class. So this will be generally used in the sense that you are using Cleric as your main class. That being said, I do think there are better starting benefits than it, and I think that the extra Channel Divinity use, while useful, won't be the most powerful you could get, because again, you can always pick up feats to get extra Channel Divinity uses, and there are a few classes that have Channel Divinity access. So you can also pick up, Crusader, for example, to get extra Channel Divinity instead of having to start as a Cleric. But if you really want to max out on your Channel Divinities, Cleric does have that ability. Speaking of Crusader, let's talk about the Crusader. It's a D10 hit dice character with Charisma as its spell stat. This is, of course, a great spell stat. I think Charisma is one of the better spell stats. Constitution, Charisma, Wisdom, and Intelligence in that order is my, tier list for the spell casting stats, I guess you could say. Dexterity, of course, is the best, but only the Manipulator can do that, and only by spending resources, so it doesn't really count. These guys get proficiency in all armor, shields, simple, and martial weapons, and they'll get Wisdom and Charisma saving throws, which Wisdom's great, Charisma's not the best, and 2 skills. So, overall, I do think I'm going to have to drop the Crusader into C. The D10 hit dice is pretty nice, but in my opinion, unless you have something like the Barbarian, where Constitution is your spellcasting stat and you have a high hit point, or a high hit dice, the overall ability for you to have high hit points is not going to be determined that much by your hit dice size. I think for healing during short rests, hit dice size is kind of important, and a D10 is great for that, but I do think that there are better starting benefits than the Crusader. Next, we're going to be talking about the Dragoon, which is kind of a weird one because they have a D4 plus a D6 hit dice. Their hit dice overarching size is considered a D6, but they get 2 hit dice per level, and they'll be rolling a D4 and a D6 for that level up. Intelligence is their spellcasting stat, just like so many martials have, and they also get proficiency in all armor, shields, simple and martial weapons, charisma and strength saving throws, 2 of the less effective saving throw proficiencies, and you'll get 2 skills. That's it. So Dragoon, I would say, the only benefit you have from Dragoon is that double hit dice size, and that's really important for any character that is wanting to play a Dragoon, but notably I think it's actually better to take Dragoon as your subclass and pick up the like higher hit dice for like short resting from like a different class. Like you could go fighter and then as your main class, and then subclass, but mostly subclass level dragoon, so that you're getting 2 hit dice per level. It's not the big D10 that fighters get, but then whenever you take a short rest, all those double hit dice are D10s because fighter's your main class. So I might drop dragoon all the way into F tier because I actually think it synergizes worse with itself than other classes, which might mean that I might need to fix dragoon at some point, but for now we'll continue on. We've got Druid next, a D8 hit dice character with wisdom as its spellcasting stat. It has proficiency in light armor, medium armor, shields, clubs, daggers, darts, javelins, maces, quarterstaffs, scimitars, sickles, slings, spears, and 1 set of tools. Intelligence and wisdom saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 skills. You also notably get the riders of a +1 caster and a +1 half CR, which the +1 half CR is super useful for making your wild shapes really good and speeding those along so that you don't have to take all the other ones like swimming form or climbing form to max out your, CR rate. But I do think the +1 caster holds it back slightly. I'm going to give this a B tier right along with cleric. I think it's actually very similar. I'm actually going to put it under the cleric. Next, we've got Fighter. Now, Fighter, I think, is actually a really important starting benefit character because it goes to show how the system really works well. D10 hit dice with intelligence as your spellcasting stat, just like most martials. They get proficiency in simple and martial weapons, shields, all armor, strength and constitution saving throws, constitution being, of course, one of the most important ones to have, and you'll get to choose 2 for your skill proficiencies, but most importantly, you also have the rider of your action surge feature refreshes on a short rest instead of a long rest. This is super useful, and the fighter benefits from this, but also every other class, like the way I want to kind of specify this is like, yes, the cleric's channel divinity power that gives them an extra use of channel divinity helps them, and it also helps crusaders that take cleric as their main class. But the fighter benefit, as long as you pick up action surge, which is it's 2 nodes away, it's 1 level dip. Every character will benefit from having fighter as their main class because action surge is helpful on every character, not just the fighter. But after that, we can move into Gish, which is another double hit dice character where they have 2d4 as their hit dice size, and their spellcasting stat can be intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. It's your choice, which I want to note is a very important distinction. That's one of the most important reasons why I'm going to be giving the Gish a decently high placement on this list, because being able to choose your spellcasting stat can be really nice, because it makes them more flexible. They get proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, charisma and wisdom saving throws, wisdom being important, charisma not, and you'll get to choose 2 from the list. It does 2 skills, and you'll get a +1 caster. I do want to note that I think without the ability for you to choose your spellcasting stat, Gish is D, but I'm going to bump it into C because of that fact. It doesn't have a lot going for it, but it does have the nice +1 caster that some casters get, and having a decently sized hit dice pool is not bad. Next, we'll talk about the Gladiator. This is a D10 hit dice size character with charisma as its spellcasting stat, which is really nice, especially for a martial character, because charisma is way better than having intelligence as like another stat you want to max out if you're going for a Gish type build. Now, the starting benefits for Gladiator are proficiency in all armor, simple and martial weapons, and you'll get strength and dexterity. Again, dexterity is pretty good, but strength is not the most effective saving throw proficiency to have. You get 2 skills, and that's it. Gladiator, I think I'm going to put above Crusader, but under Archivist. I do think it's pretty good. It's a nice overarching martial class. But if you were going to take Gladiator, the only reason you're doing it over Fighter is because you want that charisma spellcasting skill, which is important, but I do think fighter is overall better because although charisma is more useful as a skill, I think the action surge is a better ability than the charisma spellcasting stat that you get from Gladiator. Next, we're talking about the Guardian. This is a D10 hit dice character with charisma as its spellcasting stat. So again, it gets that same Gladiator ability, but I think the starting benefits for Guardian are way better than Gladiator. So you get proficiency in all armor, shields, simple weapons, same as Gladiator so far, but you also get a set of tools. You'll get intelligence and strength saving throws, so not the best saving throws. This is probably the worst set of saving throws. Still 2 skills, but then you get 2 extra riders. A +1 to your AC, and a +1 technical node in Guardian. Which notably is really nice, because that means if you only take this as your starting class, and that's it, you never put anything else into Guardian, you still get the wall ability, which will round your damage down by 1 since you have an extra technical node in Guardian. So I'm actually going to put this under fighter in A tier. It's a really good starting benefits because you always get that at least 1 damage rounded down by having just 1 node in Guardian, plus the technical node of the starting benefits. D10 hit dice is nice, and charisma is a really good spellcasting stat. After that, we get the Investigator, a D8 hit dice character with wisdom as your spellcasting stat, which is a little unfortunate that it couldn't have been intelligence, because intelligence is the main core ability stat that you're going to be using on the Investigator. They get proficiency in light armor, shields, simple weapons, all tools. Let that set in. All tools. Dexterity and constitution saving throws, which wisdom and constitution I would say are the best, but dexterity and constitution are like the second best set of proficiencies you can have for saving throws. And then you get 2 skills, and you get a +1 to your proficiency bonus. Now I want to note, yes, the Investigator has anti-synergy with itself in the sense that its spellcasting stat is not intelligence, even though intelligence is so important to the Investigator. If you wanted to play a Gish Investigator, play a class that has intelligence as its spellcasting stat, because that will help you so much more than the other things in this starting benefit. But if you're playing an Investigator, if you're actually playing an Investigator, the benefits you get from this are so useful. You only get light armor proficiency, but you get shields. Simple weapons are okay. Every single tool, you have proficiency in every tool. That is incredibly useful to every party. Dexterity and constitution are great saving throws to have. 2 skills is great, and a proficiency bonus increase on a class that really wants a high proficiency. I can't give this, I'm going to go under the Barbarian, but I can't not give this S tier. It's a really good class for starting benefits, as long as you're not playing a Gish. That's the only thing I gotta say. That's the only reason you wouldn't play this as your starting class if you're wanting to play an Investigator, is if you're wanting to play an Investigator that's a Gish. After that, we got Magician, a D6 hit dice character with charisma as your spellcasting stat. Now, the Magician also gets proficiency in simple weapons, 1 set of tools, charisma, and wisdom saving throws. Again, wisdom being pretty good, charisma being and you'll get 3 skills. You also get a +2 to your caster and a +1 spells known. Now, you'll note there's a few other places, but the D6 and the D4 casters usually get a +2 to their caster level rather than a +1, whereas the D8 hit dice characters like the cleric and the druid get a +1 to their caster instead. So overall, saying, hey, if you have lower health, you'll probably get a better caster capabilities. So getting that high caster right off the rip and having an extra spell known is really helpful for the Magician. I'm going to put them above cleric and druid, but under Artificer and Chieftain. Next, we've got the Magus. The Magus is a D8 hit dice character with intelligence as its spellcasting stat. Now, they have proficiency in all armor, simple and martial weapons. They'll choose 1 set of tools. They get dexterity and strength saving throws, which aren't the best to have, but dexterity is pretty good. 2 skills, and then they have a rider of a 8 to their maximum hit points, which is a very weird benefit because instead of like the alchemists giving you one hit point for every node you take, they just straight up are like, get an extra 8. Pretend you're doubled your hit points at the start of the game. Which isn't bad, it's pretty good. I think it's really helpful for the Magus itself because they want to be a frontliner, but they have a 8 to their hit points. Like they have a D8 hit dice, which this can give them that little bump to help, but if they really wanted to be a caster, they aren't getting anything out of this. Like the extra spell slots you can get from certain classes can give you more spell strike capabilities. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put Magus in D tier. It isn't terrible, but it does not help itself very much. Manipulator is a D4 hit dice character, which means that their starting benefits are going to have to be pretty good, because a D4 hit dice means that you are almost never split leveling this class. Intelligence is their spellcasting stat, but that's not actually their spellcasting stat because Manipulate, or Substance Spell, gives you the ability to cast with Dexterity. But again, any class can use that ability even if your starting character is not Manipulator. Manipulator does not give you anything to like do that specifically. You need just that node. But what they do give you is proficiency in light and medium armor, simple and martial weapons on a full caster is kind of interesting, strength saving throws and charisma saving throws, 2 of the worst saving throws, 3 skills, which isn't bad. You'll get a +1 to your caster, which is odd that you don't get a +2 given that you are a D4 hit dice character, but you get plus your intelligence modifier substance points. Now this is important because although you want to cast with Dexterity, having extra substance points equal to your intelligence modifier, the only way to get that is to either take enough nodes in Manipulator to get your points that high, or starting with it. I don't think it's as good as some of the others. I'm going to have to drop it into C tier because there are some very big fall-offs where the D4 hit dice really lowers it. And I think if I made it a +2 caster, it could worm its way up into B tier. But for now, where it's currently at, I think it's going to have to go in C tier. Next, we've got the Monk, another 2d4 hit dice character with Wisdom as its spellcasting stat, which is important because Wisdom is also used for their key abilities. So if you're playing a Monk and you want to be using key abilities and also using spellcasting, this does synergize with itself. The other things they get from starting are proficiency in simple weapons and short swords, and you'll get to choose 1 set of tools, so no armor proficiencies, dexterity and strength saving throws, which aren't the best, but dexterity is pretty good, and 2 skills. That's it. So I'm going to have to also drop this into D tier. Although the 2d4 hit dice is pretty nice, again, it's better, generally speaking, to take a class that has a higher hit point, or a higher hit dice as your main class, and then just subclass level or multi-class level Monk to get the 2d4 hit dice, so that whenever you take short rests, you can roll a higher hit dice multiple times. Again, it doesn't work for leveling up your max hit points, but it does work for the short rest leveling, or the short rest rolling of hit points. After that, we get Mystic, a d6 hit dice character with Wisdom as your spellcasting stat. The other things you'll get is proficiency in light armor, shields, clubs, daggers, darts, quarterstaffs, and you'll get to choose 1 set of tools, strength and wisdom saving throws, and 2 skills. You also get a +1 to your caster level. The overall decision I have come for the Mystic is that it does not have the best benefits, but I do think they're better than the Gish and the Manipulator. So I'm going to put it into C tier. It's okay, but not the best. Next, we've got the Oracle. This is a d6 hit dice character with Constitution as its spellcasting stat. Again, I think Constitution is the best stat for spellcasting because not only can you keep your concentration checks really high, but you also get really nice hit points, even though you have a low hit point counter on average, which is the Oracle example, a d6. You also get proficiency in daggers, darts, slings, wisdom, and dexterity saving throws, 2 of the best saving throws to have proficiency in. And although you don't get constitution saving throw proficiency here, because your constitution is so high, because you're casting spells with it on a caster, I don't actually think I think this kind of is like having your cake and eating it too, in the sense that although you don't have proficiency in the saving throw, you can get proficiency in the saving throw from somewhere else, and you also already have a high constitution modifier. You also get 3 skills and a +2 to your caster level. I have to put Oracle in A tier. I think it's actually even higher than the Guardian, but lower than the Fighter. Very good starting benefits. After that, we've got the Paladin, a D10 hit dice character with Wisdom as their spellcasting stat. Again, if you want to make a real, like normal D&D Paladin, you should take Crusader as your main class and Paladin as your subclass, and then kind of mix the 2 of them together to get all the features. But the starting benefits for the Paladin, notably, are proficiency in all armor, shields, simple and martial weapons, wisdom and charisma saving throws, and then you get 2 skill proficiencies, as well as an ability score improvement. And I'm going to put them right next to their Crusader friend. I think charisma's a better spellcasting stat, so it's got to go there. And I do actually think they are better than the Mystic, so I'll put them right there on the list. Next, we've got the Polaritist. It is a D8 hit dice character with intelligence as its spellcasting stat. And oh boy, are they hard to judge, because they are just so bland in their abilities. They get proficiency in light and medium armor, simple and martial weapons, charisma and wisdom saving throws, and two skills. Notably, it's 2 skills that you get to choose. Like, it's not from a list. But the Polaritist, I'm going to put in F tier because they just don't get anything special. It's hard to give the Polaritist a special boost. Perhaps I could give them an extra pendulum dice per short rest or something as their as a starting benefit. But the Polaritist is really hard to mix with any other class. So I would guess that if you're going to play a full Polaritist, picking a different class as your starting benefit just to get a little bit of extra bonus and then subclass leveling Polaritist the whole time is probably your best bet. Ranger is next. It's a D8 hit dice character, going down from a D10 notably. I reduced the size of the hit dice for the Ranger because it's gotten stronger damage-wise in my version. They have Wisdom as their spellcasting stat, just like normal D&D. And the other benefits you get from starting Ranger are proficiency in light and medium armor, shields, simple and martial weapons, 1 set of tools, strength and dexterity saving throws, and 2 skills, as well as an ability score improvement. Now, this is overall pretty mid. I'm going to put them under the Crusader, above the Paladin. They get lower hit points than the Paladin, but they get extra. I think they get better overall, proficiencies rather than the Paladin. So I'm going to eke them a little further than the Paladin, even though I would say they're very similar. The Paladin could easily go here if you feel differently, but they're both wisdom-based casters. So. Rogue is next, a D8 hit dice with intelligence as your spellcasting stat, just like many martials before it. But there's a few interesting bits and bobs that rogues do get, including one special feature that only they get from starting benefits. But starting off, they get simple weapon proficiencies, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, short swords, and light armor proficiencies. Then they get thieves' tool proficiencies, as well as 1 other set of tool proficiencies, which is kind of cool to have 2. Dexterity and intelligence saving throws, which dexterity is pretty good, intelligence isn't the best. You get 3 skills as well as that. And an extra feat. You gain a feat for starting rogue. And I have to say, although the rest of it is pretty mid, the gaining a feat ability will bump it to the top of feature. I think this is better than the Artificer, just because you gain a feat. I don't know if it's quite as good as the Guardian, but it's definitely one of the better ones just for the gaining of feat The Samurai is a D10 hit dice character with Wisdom as your spellcasting stat, and they also get proficiency in light and medium armor, martial weapons, and you'll get to choose one set of tools, charisma and wisdom saving throws, and you'll choose 2 skills, and that's it. The thing that's carrying this class is the D10 hit dice. I can't say that I like any of the features super well. It's kind of bland in general. I'll put it at the bottom of C tier. Next we've got one of my personal favorite classes I've ever made, the Shaman. A D4 hit dice character with Constitution as your spellcasting stat. Now, Constitution, again, best spellcasting stat you can have in my opinion, which is why that no matter what, this is going to be higher than C tier just because of the Constitution spellcasting stat. But let's check out the other benefits. A proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, you'll get to choose one set of tools, Constitution and Wisdom saving throw proficiency. Those are really good proficiencies to have. You'll get to choose 2 skills, and you get a +2 caster. I have to put this above Oracle because although I actually think I'm going to put it above Fighter too. I'm going to put it at the top of A tier. I think that there are some benefits that they get that aren't the best, but I think they far outweigh the negatives with these benefits, because +2 caster is great, and Constitution as your spellcasting stat means that that D4 hit dice is not going to be felt very much. Next we got Shepherd, a D8 hit dice character with Wisdom as your spellcasting stat. Now they also get one proficiency in slings and quarterstaffs, light and medium armor, 1 set of tools, Wisdom and Constitution saving throws, pretty good saving throw proficiencies there, 2 skill proficiencies, and ability score improvement. I think this is a very well-rounded character, but it's not doing anything too fancy for me, so I think I'm going to have to put this at the bottom of B tier. I think the caster bonuses are better than an ability score improvement, but it's not bad either. Next we've got Sorcerer, another D6 hit dice character with Charisma as a spellcasting stat. I do think Charisma is a really good one, but let's check out the other things that they grant. They get proficiency in daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows, and 1 set of tools, as well as Charisma and Constitution saving throw proficiencies. Constitution, of course, being one of the best ones to have, especially on a spellcaster. And you'll get to choose 2 skills. Then you also get a +1 to your caster, and you get to gain a disconnected meta node. Now, this basically means you get Sorcerer Initiate without the sorcery point increase by just starting Sorcerer, because you get to immediately pick a meta node, and although you don't yet have meta magic, you can very quickly, I think it's a 2-node dip to just pick up meta magic, which means at level 1, if you're going full, no subclass, full sorcerer, you can have meta magic and have 2 different meta magics picked out. As well as if you take a feat from your background that's meta magic initiate, you could have 3 meta magics right off the bat by going full sorcerer. I think this, although is very specific to Sorcerer, going to put them at the bottom of A tier, because although it's not the best on every character, any caster can benefit from Sorcerer's metamagic features. So, we'll continue from there. Swashbuckler is a D10 hit dice character with Charisma as its spellcasting stat. This is notably, just like Gladiator, a great starting line when it comes to benefits, because D10 plus Charisma are great, like just off the rip stats for your hit dice and your spellcasting stats. Proficiency in simple and martial weapons, light armor, you'll get to choose 1 set of tools, and you have dexterity and wisdom saving throws. So pretty good saving throws also. And you also get 3 skills. I want to note that although they don't get the ability score improvement that many martials get, I do think that all of the abilities, all of the bonuses you get to proficiency, all the proficiency that you get off this character is pretty good. And I do think this is a great starting benefit for any character that wants to play a martial type of character. I'm going to put this underneath Chieftain. Next, we've got the Thaumaturge, a D6 hit dice character with Charisma as your spellcasting stat. Notably, they also get proficiency in simple weapons, shields, choose one set of tools, charisma and dexterity saving throws, and you'll get to choose 2 skills. Then they also get the +1 caster, which is not the best on a D6 hit dice character, but they get a +1 to their fear dice count. Which notably, really hard to get a lot of fear dice on a Thaumaturge. Your fear dice don't go up very quickly, and you start with just 2. You only get like a few bonuses to them, so although it doesn't help every character, any caster that wants to be using fear dice, which you get from Chilling Mind, which is the other starting benefit, or even just like 1 note dip benefit of Thaumaturge, this helps with. So I'm going to put them under Sorcerer. Actually, I think I'm going to put them above. I'm going to put them under Rogue. I think the Thaumaturge has some really good benefits that can really help characters out, but I don't think it is quite as good as Gain Your Feet. Next, we've got the Trainer, which is a D6 hit dice character with Wisdom as your spellcasting stat. That low hit dice might feel bad, but notably, you're going to be getting a starting companion with Trainer, which can tank hits for you. You get proficiency in light and medium armor, simple and martial weapons, and then you'll get to choose 1 set of tools. Constitution and charisma saving throws, and you'll get to choose 3 skills. The real nail in the head of why this class is useful as your starting benefits is you get a C ASI and a C feat off the bat. These are your companion's ability score improvements, which notably, companion ability score improvement gives a +2 to something and a +1 to something, so that's great. And C feat gives your companion a feat. Another great benefit. And so I think although it's very specific to your companion itself, being able to start Trainer and make your companion all that better right off the rip can make a character that wants to just have an animal companion really good without having to give up too much. I mean, you are giving up a few things, but nothing more than a spellcaster would be giving up in the process. So I am going to drop this probably under Sorcery in A tier. Valkyrie is a D10 hit dice character with Intelligence as your spellcasting stat. The bonuses that you get will help see why this is pretty nice already. Obviously, most martial classes use Intelligence as your spellcasting stat modifier, but they also get light and medium armor proficiency, shields, quarterstaffs, light crossbows, and short swords. And you'll get to choose 2 sets of tools, charisma, dexterity, and wisdom saving throws. And then they get 2 skills on top of that. I'm going to put it at the bottom of S tier. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because having 3 saving throw proficiencies, notably 2 of them are wisdom and dexterity, which are like 2 of the best, but just having 3 is really good for almost any character. Intelligence is pretty common for usability, so it's not the best, like it's probably the least effective spellcasting skill, but it's not terrible. And D10 hit dice is just a nice hit dice as well. I think Valkyrie is a really good pickup for your main class, though the downside is that you basically have to be playing a bit of a Valkyrie, in the sense that without using Valkyrie's form, the Valkyrie's like starting benefit ability, they don't grant too much because most of their abilities rely on you using Valkyrie's form. Next, we've got the Vanguard, another 2 hit dice character per level, but this is 2d8, the highest in the game. This is the highest hit point you can get in the game. And they have Intelligence as their spellcasting modifier, just like so many other martials. Their starting benefits, of course, give them proficiency in all armor, shields, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, and they get to have 3 skill proficiencies as well. It's not the best spread, and having 3 skill proficiencies isn't bad. I'm going to put this at the top of C tier. I think it's better than the Gladiator, even though it's got a worse spellcasting stat. And I think it's better than the Archfist as well, obviously. Next we've got the Warden, another D6 hit dice character that uses intelligence as their spellcasting stat. But let's check out their bonuses for starting as well. Proficiency in simple weapons, 1 set of tools. No armor, by the way. Choose Constitution and Dexterity saving throws, like 2 of the best, and 2 skills. They also get a +1 Jailer slot, which is how you get spell slots as a Warden, and Monster slot recharges on a 4, 5, and 6 instead of just a 5 and a 6. So again, this is only for Wardens, because Warden's the only one that use that ability, and you have to be a decently high level Warden to use Monster slot, because it isn't like a close feature to pick up. But Monster slot, boosting its chances for you to get it from 1/3 of the time to 1/2 of the time is, in my opinion, worth the investment. I'm going to put it under Swashbuckler above the other spellcasters here. Next we've got Warlock. This is a D8 hit dice character with Charisma as your spellcasting stat. And let's check out the other bonuses from starting in Warlock, which is light armor proficiency, simple weapon proficiency, and 1 set of tools. You also get Charisma and Wisdom saving throw proficiency, so Wisdom's pretty good there. And you'll get to choose 2 skills. You also get a +2 to your spells known. A little bit of a weirder one, having the spells known be the thing that's boosted here, but it isn't a bad boost either way. I'm going to put this in B tier. It is pretty good, and although it's a D8 hit dice, I would sometimes prefer to just grab a martial character here to get a higher hit point count, but it doesn't have terrible saving throws either, so we'll leave it squarely at the bottom of B tier under the Shepherd. And then we've got the Witch, a D6 hit dice character with Wisdom as their spellcasting stat. The Witch also gets proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, 1 set of tools, Charisma, Dexterity, and Wisdom saving throw proficiencies. Just like the Valkyrie, they get 3 saving throw proficiencies, which is super cool. Also notably, I think is it the same or it's very similar? Wisdom and Dexterity are great, Charisma's okay. But 3 saving throw proficiencies is super nice. 2 skills and a +2 caster. I have to bump Witch all the way above the Sorcerer, because those are some really solid boosts, as well as having 3 saving throw proficiencies, just like the Valkyrie. Although I do think the Valkyrie is the Valkyrie better? I think I'm actually going to put the Witch above the Valkyrie and move the Valkyrie here. They're the exact same saving throw proficiencies. I think I'm actually going to do this. I think this is a better way of describing it. I think the Witches are better because of the +2 caster, and the hit dice being a D10 on the Valkyrie will keep it... I'm going to do this. I know I'm bouncing back and forth a bit, but I think they are very close in some aspects. I think the D10 hit dice puts it above the Shaman, because the Shaman needs the Constitution spellcasting modifier to keep it high. But the Witch just passively getting that +2 caster as well bumps it above both. And the final class we'll be looking at is the Wizard. D6 hit dice character with Intelligence as your spellcasting modifier. You get daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows, 1 set of tools, no armor proficiencies, Intelligence and Wisdom saving throws, and 2 skills, and then a +2 caster. I unfortunately would love to put Wizard in A tier because I like the Wizard, but it is top of C tier at best. It's okay. That's where I think I'm going to leave my list for now. There's definitely a few that I think could be changed up. I'm especially wondering where I could put, if I should switch these around. I mean, basically, this one's got better hit dice, this one's got better spellcasting capabilities, but I do think I'm very, very confident with most of my rankings here. Overall, the starting benefits are a huge part of your character, but any character can play with any starting benefits and be a good character. So don't worry about this. If you're just playing for fun, it's mostly for the nerds that want to be as good of a character as possible. Like me, I'm a bit of a min-maxer myself, and I'm proud of it. That's why I made this system, which is really easy to have fun and make fun characters out of. But if you enjoyed this video, please do give me a like and subscribe for more. And thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.